Tell me, how did you come to this project, Alexis?
And I was friends with Paul Rubens, who I guess is better known as Pee Wee Herman. I had met him on another documentary project and we became friends. And after Allie passed away, he introduced me to her life partner, Prudence Fenton, who at the time was looking to fulfill one of Allie's final wishes, which is that somebody take this massive archive that she'd left behind, documenting her life from her childhood in Detroit in the 40s and 50s. All the way into her death in 2019 and turn it into a documentary.
She was just an explosion of creativity.
I'm not going to be discovered artistically until after I'm gone.
My name is Allee Willis.
I have filmed my life since 1978. I've always known that my final art piece would be someone putting together the trail I've left behind. This is one of the greatest spaces in the house.
Allie was a genius.
She sold over 60 million records.
She's damn near written half my memory.
Yeah. I'm the world's best kept secret.
Do you remember?
And it was funny. I didn't think I had heard of Allee Willis when I first started chatting with Prudence, but then I Googled her, and if you look at her, you'll immediately kind of recognize her. She's been in kind of like the cultural ether. She's very distinct. And as I got into the project, I realized that, she'd been a part of my life the entire time because so much of her music and her art has been really, they're major cultural touchstones. And then also just on a personal level, I think most people have their own kind of stories and connection to them. So that was a kind of interesting way to begin a project, kind of feeling like, oh, I've known this person my whole life, even though I didn't realize it.
Parties were art to her.
You have to meet this woman. She has bowling balls sunk in her front lawn.
She was an artist.
Art director, set designer.
She had an early presence on the internet.
Art, music, and technology. Every breath was a creative idea.
She left so much. Where did you begin?
I mean, just to contextualize it, she left like 6 storage units. I mean, real sizable storage units. She had an incredible collection of kitchen Americana and art and mid-century furniture and Atomica. And even on her property, as she had built a bunch of these structures that look really quite charming. You would never guess that they're just storing more stuff. And then she had someone filming her in addition to like home video or, Super 8 film and stuff like that from when she was a kid. She started having someone film her from 1978 on for most of her life. So we had, at least 10,000 hours of footage, which is an insane amount of material. And, I think the place I started was really that Allie was this extremely like multifaceted, prolific artist, and she could do anything. And she definitely could have made her own documentary. I mean, there were times when she tried to. And so I was really fascinated that she had left in her diaries, not just and with her life partner, not just a request that someone else make the film, but instructions to the person making the film. And so she really did want a third party to do that. And I felt like that was an important part of the journey of making the film, was to try to answer that question of why she wanted someone else to do it, and then hopefully actually manifest what she was looking for there. And so that became a really good guiding light, because when you have that much material, you just you get one shot to look at most of it, and you have to make choices right away. And so to do that, you need to have a strong point of view. And for me, what it really came down to reading her notes and journals was this one line where she says, if I don't, she as an aside, she says, if I don't lose my nerve and destroy everything before I die. And I thought, well, what's to be afraid of? If you just want a puff piece, or you just want to go through, like, she's an incredibly accomplished person. You could do entire films just on her accomplishments.
She always wanted people to know their own brilliance and creativity.
Allie's pushing you to be your best and to see the world differently.
Allie is orchestrating all of this from above.
But she left so much of it's just a completely unsanitized version of her life. And we learned so much about her experiences and the things that shaped her that hadn't even been shared in her 30-year relationship with her partner, that no one really knew. She left to be discovered. And I think what she really wanted is, if you look at Allie, she was like had this wild asymmetrical haircut and this incredible wardrobe of like vintage and custom pieces that was like a cacophony of colors and prints, and none of it really matched, but somehow it all worked perfectly together. And she just wasn't someone who was trying not to be seen. And she seemed like a beacon of individuality and self-acceptance. And in her archives, what you saw was a much more fragile, vulnerable side that she really hadn't shared with people in her lifetime. And I think she understood, a lot of her mission as an artist was that she wanted and her appearance was to inspire other people, that they could also be a little bit extra, and to create space for people to express themselves. And on the flip side of that, that was something that was really hard for her to carve out for herself. And she actually was underneath it all struggling to accept herself her whole life. And I think that the film and the documentary and having another point of view, I'm sorry?
Very insecure.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it was an opportunity.
Right. Her father and her mother died young, when she was very young. And her father never really seemed to accept her and wanted her to be different. And I think that insecurity kind of fueled what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think very much so. I don't think she ever felt, I mean, she turned it in, she found like a sense of humor with it. And she has a great joke. She did a one-woman show, and it always got a huge laugh, where she has a joke where she says, because her father was especially critical of her association with Black culture, which if you're going to work with Patti LaBelle and Earth, Wind and Fire and the Pointer Sisters, then you have a strong association with Black culture. That's just inevitable. And Allie always had a strong connection to Black music. And he was very, very judgmental and disapproving of that. And so she tells this joke where, right before he passed away, the last thing she said to him is that she'd just gotten the gig to write the musical The Color Purple. And then she, quips like he was gone within an hour. And it's very funny, but it's also heartbreaking, because the flip side of it is that she's saying till his very last breath, and with everything that she accomplished, 60 million records plus all of these different things, he never really showed her that he was proud of her with art.
Speaking of her inner child, her house is an amazing character in this story. What's the property like today? Has the house been preserved in any way?
Yes. So the house, Allie originally wanted the house to be turned into a museum. It's a really difficult prospect because it's just, for people who haven't seen the movie yet, it's this pink, streamlined, modern house. I mean, she painted it pink. It's sort of like the original Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's filled with this incredible collection of kitsch and Americana and incredible collection, but there's stuff everywhere. There's a lot of custom designed furniture that Allie would make from salvaged, auto parts. And it's like an explosion of creativity. But it's not the kind of place where you can just have hundreds of people walking through, or put everything behind plexiglass or whatever. So, it's kind of to be determined. But what's wonderful is that her life partner started a foundation, the Willis Wonderland Foundation, and that foundation, its mandate right now is trying to cultivate artists from more underserved or marginalized groups. So, young women, people of color, people who identify as LGBT plus, and there's songwriting programs that they're hosting at the house. They're also going to put a program into Los Angeles public schools as a pilot program that hopefully can be replicated other places. So the house right now is it's kind of the staging for all of that, but it's not really open, and I'm not sure how long they'll keep it. But hopefully they find a way. It would be great for artist salons, and like I said, they've done songwriters workshops and whatnot. If they can keep it intact, I know that's what Allie would have wanted, and it's really was wonderful making the film because we got to film so much there. And when you're in there, it's very different. Like often I think when you go and to someone's home who's passed away and you're with their stuff, it's very melancholy, or there's a more darker feeling. And it's pretty much one of the happiest places in Los Angeles. Like you just walk in. and you're hit with all of it, and you don't feel, you feel like Allie's just there, or it just feels very alive.
She had the idea for, the social networking. She had the idea for social networking decades before it actually became a thing.
So when she first had the internet explained to her in the late 80s, early 90s, she just saw another way to do that on a much bigger scale, which is incredible because she ended up partnering with Mark Cuban and creating this thing called Willisville that was going to be a way to bring people who were either intimidated by the technology of the internet or otherwise just didn't quite get it in. And it was kind of like eBay meets Instagram meets Facebook. Like it was all of this like social network, but you could go to flea markets and you could buy things from each other and you could create art and you could collaborate. It was so genius. And really, like Mark Cuban says in the film, now it would have been because of the way she had these characters in this world created, it was the metaverse before there was the metaverse. And the thing is she'd go up to Silicon Valley with Mark Cuban and be pitching this, and you had these, executives at Intel telling her, nobody's ever going to buy anything on the internet. When she wasn't really able to push her vision through. And I think that's the problem with being ahead of your time, is when you're too early, it's very hard to figure out when to call it, but I think that was a really inspired and amazing thing about her. And I think it was also very painful that she couldn't get other people to see what was actually right in front of all of us the whole time.
So instead she went on to do The Color Purple. And we are all benefiting from that. So she just continued. She just kept going.
Yeah. Well, nice work if you can get it.
Yeah.